who is the biggest threat to Georgia if they do make the college football playoff?
Yeah, I'm right there with Dre in terms of Ohio State, Michigan. I'm not going to repeat all his points because I'm right there with him on what those two teams pose. I do think that Michigan is a lot like Georgia or Georgia like Michigan. So if Michigan gets outclassed or isn't at their level, then we're going to see something similar to what we saw last year. But I do think Michigan's better this year than they were last year and have a threat at quarterback that could open things up. So they got the potential to even provide, to a certain extent, what Ohio State provides as their main threat. So I'm a little more sure about Michigan. Michigan's playing better football right now. Besides those two, people don't want to hear this, but all the options are right inside the SEC. And even though we're not going to see them, the third or fourth choice for me would be Alabama to play Georgia. So I don't care how many games they lose, especially when they're losing in the last play of the game twice. So everybody's happy, or a lot of people are happy. Alabama's been dismissed, and they probably are. There are ways that they could sneak back into an SEC championship game because, man, you mix up LSU and Ole Miss against Arkansas and Texas A&M. From a talent standpoint, those aren't mismatches at all. They're just, those teams just aren't playing well. Talking about Arkansas and Texas A&M. So anyway, I'd put Alabama on a field after Ohio State and Michigan with Georgia if I wanted to win a game, and then Tennessee right there, difficult to beat. History tells us this, difficult to beat a team a second time. So those would be the teams I would go to before anybody else, anywhere else.
Tennessee has no defense.
The defense has struggled a bit. Greg, who would you say is
no,
true?
I've been listening to you guys, yeah, and I was thinking Alabama the whole time because don't count Alabama out; they can still sneak in there. So, no, that's what came to mind first for me.
I think the issue with Alabama is they have showed consistent bad signs of a flawed football team, albeit very, very talented football team, flawed, especially defensively. And offensively, I think this is one of the most non-explosive from a receiver core standpoint in quite a while. And, I would argue this. If they didn't have the spectacular play of Bryce Young and had a just good quarterback play, I think they could have 3, maybe 4 losses this year. I don't think they make it out of Texas. I'm not sure if they even make it past Texas A&M. So you're looking at 3 or 4 losses right there. Now, you always have the stigma that as Alabama, and from a talent standpoint, they should be able to compete with anybody. But something has been off this year. But to Mark's point, I think the X factor is, if you're talking about one game take off for SEC title game, we all know that Saban's record versus assistants. Now, yes, Kirby Smart got him the latest time, but you just never know. Saban has time to game plan for him. I agree, Mark, from that aspect that you couldn't count Alabama out to steal one versus Georgia, no matter how inconsistent Bama has looked this year.
They are one excruciating play in 2 games away from being undefeated. And they played in 2 of the most hostile environments in college football. So they seem to be like, oh, what's wrong with Bama? And they're horrible this year and all this other stuff. And I get it. And they didn't play with Bryce Young against Texas A&M. And they still took LSU, who now is the talk of college football, down to the last play of the game, a 2-point conversion in Death Valley, and the same thing at Tennessee. It took a wild missed field goal, other end, one big play, Hendon Hooker to Wyatt or one of the wideouts, field goal going the other way. It took craziness to knock them out. If they are
what
not.
It is? You know what it is, guys? It's kind of been spoiled as college football fans. So maybe not spoiled might be the right word, but Alabama has set such a high standard of consistency. That they pretty much click on all phases of the game every single year, partly due to talent, due to very micromanaging coaching by Saban. He makes sure that they practice very well and that all their T's are crossed and I's dotted.